Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 5th, edition number 2, winter weather update across the Pacific Northwest. Here we go. Some precipitation making it east of the mountains. I wanted to point that out, probably creating some slick conditions across Spokane. You can clearly see the low pressure center. This one's going to kind of stall out here and try to produce some persistent precipitation here, probably in a deformation band somewhere across the Seattle metro. We'll take a look at what the weather models are struggling with this time, but just see, we do have some plentiful moisture there. Anybody does get underneath any of those bands has a chance for some of that snowfall accumulating down into the lower elevations. Here's the low pressure center there. You can see the easterlies and kind of the battle between the southerlies here across some of the southern Puget Sound. Fraser River outflow continues to stream out that cold air here, hopefully bring in some additional rounds of some of this upslope snow into the north portion of the Olympic Mountains. Now, if you want to help support the channel, click on the link down below to save 10% off. Very fun weather station. Highly recommend the smartphone app. I've been looking at it and comparing it versus my Davis temperature-wise all day long. Pretty much spot on, and the Davis is actually a fan aspirated thermometer as well, so this is really accurate. It's doing really well. Now taking a look at State Route 4, look at that, the snow, some of the snow and slush on the roadway there down across southwest Washington. There's Astoria here, so yeah, across the higher terrain, definitely be careful if you're out and about traveling. They did drop the winter weather advisory across the Willamette Valley, including Portland and Kelso down there across southern Washington, but not all hope is lost, folks. We got additional snow chances coming up here, so you're going to want to take a look at that as we go through the video. Still got the winter weather advisories here across much of western Washington. We'll go over that in a little bit more detail, starting with some of the graphics that Seattle National Weather Service has been putting out. You can see the potential for moderate to heavy snow overnight. Very marginal situation coming in here, because if you drop to 32, of course, there's going to be much more snowfall accumulating versus if you stay at 33 or 34 in the overnight hours. And I'll show you the weather model battle with that. Here's another graphic here, pretty detailed stuff here from the National Weather Service Seattle, calling for 1 to 2 for Seattle, 1 to 2, and also noting the variability there within this yellow dashed line for some locally higher amounts. Now, this is where we are now, 850 millibars, about 5,000 feet. There's our surface low, and let me scroll up here. We're about right there right now. You can see it's still the cold air bottled up across British Columbia that has spilled out over the Pacific Ocean, and it is aloft. It should be cold enough aloft to bring snowflakes down towards the surface. How much will that accumulate is the huge question right now. If we put this into motion, you can see our low just kind of hanging with us as we go through tomorrow morning, but it will be weakening. Then we've got another system. It's going to drop down the coastline as we go through the day Friday. And in the meantime, between now and Friday night into Saturday morning, we may get a little bit of a reinforcement of some of that drier air, which may help this system be snowfall into the lower elevations as well. And then we've got some additional cold weather after that. I'll show you that a bit more here towards the end of the video. But let's get into it here a bit. This is the HRRR high resolution rapid refresh. You can see I'm going to update this because this is running as we speak. This is a 0Z run that does go out 48 hours, but let's see what we got here. You can see it does bring some snowfall. I'm looking at Kuchera because the temperatures here, if they are at freezing, we're going to see much more significant accumulations. You can see this across some of the Kitsap Peninsula, back across the Seattle Metro, and the HRRR likes Seattle north towards the King County line there as well for some heavier snowfall amounts. You can see these big amounts across some of the Cascades, kind of hit and miss there. Probably a bit more across Snohomish County, no doubt, if you believe the HRRR. But if I look at the snow depth change in inches there, you can see it does show some, but it is significantly less. However, this temperature comes in a little bit colder than what the HRRR and what the NAM are showing. We're going to get bigger amounts. So if I take a look at the NAM, this is total snow Kuchera ratio in inches. And this has been, this reflects what the European strongly has been showing here over the last few days. But the issue with the NAM is that, watch as I scroll through tonight, you notice the Seattle Metro and some of the Puget Sound region here, it's a bit too warm. It stays at 33. That's why it's not building up that accumulating snowfall on some of the model runs here, maybe an inch or two slushy stuff. But the European shows something different. I'll show you that here starting now. Accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. Now, as we scroll through the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, again, 2 inches at SeaTac accumulating, that's a big deal. And then you can see some of the outlying areas a little bit further south on I-5 and maybe off across Kent East Hill or something off of 405. This is quite a bit of snowfall accumulating into the lower elevations. And you can kind of see this band setting up across portions of western Washington here across some of the Seattle Metro, because the European is a little bit colder, so it allows more for that lower level or low snow level accumulation here to occur across some of western Washington. Now, taking a wider look at things here as well, the total snow Kucher ratio on the European, this is pretty similar there for Western Washington because it's a little bit colder. But as we go on in through Friday, I want to give people a little bit more hope. There's another little chance here for some of Western Oregon as we go through Friday night into Saturday morning. And then as we go on in towards early next week, the European wants to bring additional, look at that, some snowfall down to Willamette Valley again here as well. And we've got a storm in the meantime. In fact, let me back this all the way up. And you can see as we go through the day on Friday, you can see this snow ride back up Thursday night across eastern Oregon, clipping southeast Washington, pushing back into Idaho and Montana, taking the same track as the last storm. So this is where we are now, 100-meter wind speeds. If we look at the surface low right off the coast, you can see the easterlies here battling the southerlies. That's probably where this band is going to set up, if you believe the European. Fraser River outflow going in the meantime. Here we go on into tonight and Thursday morning. You see the surface low kind of right there, the battleground. That's why the European continues to show heavier snowfall amounts right across this area, and the National Weather Service has been catching on to that as well. So then if we go on in through Thursday, you can kind of see we got the northerlies back here. We may start to drag some of that cooler air back down across the region, and then we get this system swinging down the coast. You can see it right there, that cyclonic flow out there, and we start to bring some southerlies back. We may have some cooler air in place there, and we could get some additional snowfall as we go Friday night into Saturday morning. Now, taking a look at the dew point temperature, just kind of scrolling this. This concerns me a little bit for snow lovers because the dew points are being underdone here by the European. They're a little bit warmer than this, so that kind of concerns me when this precipitation occurs. I guess the thinking about it now, the air is cold enough that we'll probably be able to bring some of that down to lower elevations. At 925 millibars, you need about -1 Celsius, and I think we have that, and I'll show you that here in a moment. But one more look at things here. This is the North American model. There's the surface low, and again, just a very fine line here across the Pacific Northwest and mainly Washington. And then you can see the northerlies return as we go through the day Thursday, bringing some of that cooler air out, and then we're going to bring another system in here on Friday night to Saturday morning. But if we look at the European, 850 millibar temperatures, it is cold enough for it to be snowing down to the lower elevations. You need that magic number at about -6. And as we go through tonight and as we go on into tomorrow morning, it stays right around or a little bit cooler than that. So we're good there. If we take a look at 925 millibars as well, you can see we're right at that line. You need about -1. We're a little bit colder there earlier today, but right as we go into the overnight hours, we do cool down a little bit aloft there. So that might be enough for any area that does develop some of that persistent precipitation to drag that snow level down towards the surface. Now, European, there we go. As we go through tonight, you can see the Seattle Metro has it 31 degrees there. So that's going to make a big difference between what accumulates. Just a monumental difference between 31 and 33 degrees as far as accumulating snowfall. So really watch your temperature out there. And if you see yourself dropping down to 32.5 and whatnot, then you're probably going to start to see some accumulating snowfall. Now let's take a look at what is to come through the extended, because it stays interesting here, folks. I know. Crazy stuff. But if we take a look as we go through Friday morning, there's a little blurb that kind of moves through there Friday night, and then we watch to see what is to come next. And you got to remember, here's the ridge, north colder flow kind of carving out. This is the ensemble mean. So we have pretty good ensemble agreement right now as we go through the early portion of next week of another very cold air mass trying to get down across British Columbia and the Pacific Northwest. Is this going to be far enough west? We'll pick up a bit of moisture and create a little bit of cyclogenesis, little subtle trough here, and some snowfall. That's still up in the air right now. We'll watch that daily. And if we look at what was going on for 12Z, you can actually see that 540 line here, a little bit colder on the 18Z European ensembles there. So positive trend for cold weather and snow weather lovers. And if we take a look at 5,000 feet, 18Z on the left, we got 12Z on the right. We scroll off in towards next week. There goes some of that colder air. Pretty carbon copy here. So the European has really good ensemble agreement that this cold air mass is coming. Is that going to bring precipitation with it is a much more tricky question. Now, if we look at the wider view of things here, there's Alaska, there's Washington, California. So again, 18,000 feet, the deterministic run here from the 18Z, hot off the presses. Here we go on in towards the early portion of next week. We're watching the extended. You can see clearly that ridge all the way up into Alaska, what goes shows up, must come down, back down here on the eastern periphery of that ridge. And again, you see that polar lobe trying to reach out, but when it drops a little bit too far down, if it was carved out a little bit more across central British Columbia, it'd be much more of a favorable track there for some lower elevation snowfall. So this could be a dry intrusion where we just get very cold and not much moisture with it. So we'll be watching that over the next few days. And 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. This is the actual temperature. You can see the cold up across British Columbia, and then that next shot of Arctic air drops down there. Let me back that up a little bit more so you can kind of watch it in motion. Bulk of it stays east of the Rockies, but enough of that spills out that would be down into Washington and portions of Oregon as well. Very cold, especially behind the Cascades with that setup. And the GFS ensemble, let's take a look at that as we go into next week and just kind of see what it shows. You can see we remain below normal at 5,000 feet, and then we go on in towards the early portion of next week. And yeah, the GFS is in large agreement with that, but still on the dry side of things, it looks like with this Arctic air. So this is the La Nina. This is over the last 30 days, I believe here. And we're probably going to be classified as a La Nina. I mentioned this earlier today. We record these ocean temperatures between 170 and 120. So right there, it's clearly kind of got that La Nina pattern. We did get some recent upwelling here, and you can see the cooler water here off the coast of South America and up across portions of Mexico, Baja there as well, and kind of up towards Southern California. So yeah, it does look like a La Nina will probably be official here as we go on in towards spring and whatnot. It'll probably officially be classified as La Nina. And here's the new 6 to 10 day here. You can kind of see the below normal here across the west and a lot of the northern states. 6 to 10 day, they really upped this for above average precipitation. We'll see how that goes. There's the 8 to 14 day, and the 8 to 14 day, you got the above average precip there as well. And this is kind of a cool experimental product, risk of heavy snow. Look at the Cascades targeted there as we go through February 13th through 15th. We'll see how that trends as we go as well. So anyway, I may go out here and start chasing tonight. I don't know. It's such a marginal setup. It's going to be really tricky. It's been kind of snowing, mixed rain off and on here across the area. But again, things will be cooling down. Of course, the sun's going to set and whatnot. And wherever these persistent bands set up as this low kind of pivots and spins inland a bit here, that is going to be the determining factor on who gets what. So anyway, I may go live again, like I said, later tonight, but otherwise I'll do my normal briefing tomorrow. We'll see how things went. We'll see what's coming. We got another system dropping down as we go through the day Friday and Saturday. And then we'll take a look at that Arctic air tomorrow morning as well. But otherwise, I hope you guys are having a good night out there. Hope you guys get some snowflakes or whatever it is you want to see out of this storm. Again, a very marginal setup, right so close to freezing that once you get on a hilltop or whatnot, you're probably going to be getting better snowfall accumulations, no doubt, than areas that are right up against the Puget Sound. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good night, and I will talk to you guys later.